Hey Walking Dead fans, this will be a The Walking Dead webisode review of the three-part story, The Oath. It premiered on October 1st, 2013, and The Oath was part of a promotion for Season 4, so it happened between Season 3 and 4. If you have not seen my video on The Walking Dead webisode Torn Apart, check it out, link in the description and at the end of the video, and also look for other webisode review videos on this channel. The Oath was really cool when it first aired, and it helped shed some light on the show's timeline and how some things happened that we had seen in Season 1. The Oath takes place before the events of Season 1, before Rick wakes up. The interesting thing is that the Oath takes place at the Harrison Memorial Hospital, the same place where Rick is at, still in a coma. Now this webisode answers a few key questions we had, but opens up a few as well. Who wrote on the cafeteria doors? What else happened at the hospital? Who's the doctor that helps the people in this webisode? Where is Rick, and do they ever interact? But we're going to find out the doctor probably never even knew Rick was there, and that's probably a good thing.
Paul, everyone's gone.
So as the webisode opens up, we meet Paul and Karina. Those are the two main characters throughout the webisode. They're at a camp and it's being overrun by a horde of zombies, a common thing that we see all the time in The Walking Dead. We see that they're leaving loved ones or friends behind, but they gotta get out of there. And we also find out that both this group and the doctor has these oaths that they're keeping, and we find out one here.
Remember when I found you? I was the one that made you take the oath before you could join us. You remember that? Say it.
When one lives, all live.
Right.
But the two make it out, and they end up finding a car, but Paul was hurt, injured, cut his side, so they're going to have to find a doctor.
What the hell?
No. Just cut myself in the window of the truck after it flipped.
So while looking around for medical attention, they finally come upon Harrison Memorial Hospital. After getting inside, Karina's looking around in this closet for some medical supplies and a walker attacks, but somebody saves them.
Dr. Macones. Gale.
This person introduces herself as Gale Macones, and she said she worked at the hospital before the apocalypse happened. So right after that, she bandages up Paul. She says, we just don't know if he's going to make it or not with the medicine we have and stuff like that. And we're going to find out that this doctor is kind of crazy, maybe. It's according to how you look at it. And then we find out from Macones that the hospital fell, the government supplies and help stopped coming, the increased number of patients, the hospital just pretty much turned to chaos, and people started killing each other.
Oh, we were overrun. But it wasn't them.
Well, if it wasn't the DKs, who?
And she also described how her and one of her assistants hid in a closet while some survivors came, and even some people that they had helped previously, and they took the younger girl, and who knows what happened to her, and left the older doctor.
Fights broke out. People were killing each other. There was chaos everywhere.
So not only is Karina telling her about the camp being overrun and just all the crap that they've been through, the doctor's telling her it hasn't been a pretty picture here either.
Yes, a lot of bad things happened here. But those walking bodies had nothing to do with it.
So they pretty much go back and check on Paul, and the doctor says, hey, he's about to die. She had already strapped him down just in case, and she's like, I gotta, he's pretty much dead, so I'm gonna take him on out of here. So of course that was pretty devastating to Karina. It didn't seem like a wound that would kill you, but it is the apocalypse. The doctor wheels Paul into a room full of walkers that she has barricaded, the cafeteria. And this is the iconic doors that we're going to see a little bit later. But we're also going to find out that Most of those walkers in that cafeteria were given a lethal injection by the doctor. From the doctor's account, it was all of their choices. I don't want to live in this world anymore. It's kind of like a Jenner when he blew himself up or decided to stay in the CDC, making a choice. I don't want to live in the world that's outside. It's kind of the same thing. Patients come into the hospital, the doctor tries to help them, but it almost seems like she talks them into it at the same time. So that's the edge of, is she crazy or is she not? Is she actually trying to kill everybody that comes through? Has she killed everybody that comes through and seeks her help? We don't know, but it really seems like maybe she's off the deep end to me. We do find out in the conversation when Karina and the doctor is kind of out in the hall talking that Karina and Paul and their group calls the walkers decays. Decays or decays. Decays. So that was another new term that we've added to the long list of terms that people call the zombies.
DKs, you call them? Yeah, like rotting, decay.
So by part 3, we figure out, though, that Paul isn't dead, and luckily he wakes up in time, gets himself off the stretcher, and makes his way out of the cafeteria. After Paul is put into the cafeteria, the doctor goes back and talks to Karina, who tells her a story about killing a man in the woods, and then a little girl comes out and she just runs off and leaves the little girl, knowing she probably didn't make it very long. So she has a lot of guilt, and she's like, I don't want to live in this world, and she decides, as it seems like Dr. Macones is talking her into it, she decides to end her life.
Too bad you can't prescribe bullets. You only need one.
I might be able to offer you another option.
He finds Karina and the doctor, who he's figured out, the Karina, thinking Paul was dead, is like, look, it's over. I want it to end. So the doctor had given her a lethal injection, and by the time Paul reaches them, it's too late. So of course Paul is pretty angry, but the doctor tells him that she is providing a people a choice between fighting for life and a non-violent, peaceful way of not dying alone. So of course Paul is mad, and the doctor just tells him about how she just is providing all these people a choice of life out there, fighting for life and survival and each other, fighting other people, or dying peacefully. It is something to think about. Makes you kind of ponder things. But Paul, he points his gun at her, and she's like, if you think I'm the bad guy, go ahead and kill me. But it does a cut. It switches scenes, and we don't hear a gunshot. We never see the doctor again. We don't know if Paul pulled the trigger. So we don't know if the doctor is even still around. My guess is he pulled the trigger, or something else happened to the doctor, because we don't see her anywhere even after Rick gets up. It is possible that they just always missed each other. And I'll get back to why I think that the doctor hadn't been taking care of Rick in just a second. So after it switches scenes, we see Paul kind of talking about his oath of people staying together and being with each other. So he takes some pliers, he pulls out Karina's teeth after she reanimates, puts her in a straitjacket, and takes her with him. But not before going back and spray painting "Don't Open, Dead Inside," or "Don't Dead, Open Inside," however you want to read it, which could be one of the most iconic images of the whole series. And that's the end of the webisode. But there's a gap in the timeline, or what I say, a long stretch in the timeline that they say, or it kind of works out if you do the math and try to put it together. Rick was in the coma for a while, if not a month, over a month. And I don't mean the whole time he was in a coma. Once the hospital went down and Shane put the gurney up against the door, there's no sign that the gurney was moved or anybody had been taking care of Rick. It is possible that the doctor moved the gurney back, took care of Rick, put the gurney back at the door to, I guess, maybe try to help walkers not going in. That is a possibility, and I think that's kind of what they want us to believe to explain how Rick survived all that time. It's really the best explanation we have, even though there's really no clues that she even took care of him. And one big thing that I say, the reason that she didn't is, one, the gurney's still in front of the door, and two, she had this weird knack of giving people lethal injections. But she did have this oath, she said, or she did have this philosophy. They had to make the choice. And if Rick's in a coma, he can't verbally make that choice. So maybe she did take care of him and not give him a lethal injection because he hadn't woke up yet. He wasn't able to give her a verbal, yes, I want that choice of dying. So one of the biggest things that stuck out to me and raises even more questions, like I say, some things it added a few questions. The doctor in the webisode said that she's been at the hospital for several months, locking down the facility as best she could.
Been a few months. My oath is to people who need help.
So let's just trace that back. Several months sounds like more than 2. Could be 2, possibly 3. And if this takes place before Rick wakes up in the hospital, it definitely wasn't 3 months prior that he got shot. It was closer to around 2 months that he got shot, but not even 2 months, presumably, that Shane left him in the hospital. So as I say about the timeline all the time, it's not perfect, and it's going to have some holes. Different writers, different people, different directors doing the show. It's all going to things. They don't sit down and go, hey, let's try to make this the most exact timeline we can and go over it and make sure. And oh, she said several months. It hasn't been several months. Let's change that line. And I just don't think they really think about that. I think I would think about it if I owned a show or was writing a show like that, but that's just me. I do know there's people above you, there's bosses above you, there's budgets to think about. TV is its own damn animal in itself that you have to produce for. And remember, AMC is like regular cable. It's not like HBO. So, there's just a lot of things going on with the show overall.
I will never leave you. But right now, we have to go.
So Paul and Karina had their oath, and the doctor has her oath as well. Her oath is that she will remain at the hospital to help the people that don't want to live any longer and wish to die, on their own terms. She tells Paul that that's her oath. So if you're wondering where they got the title, Paul and Karina had an oath, and the doctor had her oath as well. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I think, the doctor never did know about Rick. And I also think that Paul probably did pull the trigger. But I don't know. We haven't seen Paul or Karina anymore. And we never did see the doctor anymore either. So it's really left up to the viewer right now to fill in the pieces or make up their own mind what they think. As always, thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe for more dead stuff.